So guys, see, we started with allowances in the last lecture, if you remember. Remember or not? Allowance means hey, 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 hey. Allowance means what? Allowance. Hey, hey, hey. What is the meaning of allowance? I told you it is a fixed amount given on a regular basis in addition to salary. It can be given to meet official expenses, personal expenses, or to compensate for unusual or extreme working conditions. Okay. So now the tax treatment of the allowances. Okay. Tax treatment of allowance, dearness allowance. DA in terms, DA not in terms, if you remember. DA in terms, DA not in terms. Two types of DA can be given. DA in terms, taxable. DA not in terms, taxable. Why in terms? Why not in terms? What is the meaning? You already know. Entertainment allowance, if received by government employee, two effects. Fully taxable. Then take the deduction. Under 16 clause 2. And deduction will be A, B, C, whichever is lower. A, actual entertainment allowance. B, 1/5 of basic salary. C, maximum 5,000 per annum, whichever is lower. Out of these three amounts, the lowest amount will be allowed as a deduction. Lowest amount not be more than 5,000. Yes or no? And the deduction under 16 clause 2 will be available only if the assessee is a government employee and he does not follow 115 BAC. He has shifted out of 115 BAC. Yes or no? Now, if the entertainment allowance is by a non-government employee, then only one effect, fully taxable. Will the non-government employee get any deduction in clause 2? Why everyone is sitting behind? Why these benches are empty? Somebody coming here? Sitting there already. I cannot see. So, last person. Sit here. First bench. Come fast. Come fast. Gokul. Gokul and your friend. Yes. You both. And the Darshan. Come. Come. Walk fast. Come on. Your place is fixed. Will not move anywhere. Sir. Hello. You also. Gokul. Why your friend left behind? Why did you sit me? He doesn't like without you. Sit there, no problem. Now see, your places are fixed. Now you are not supposed to move. Sir, madam, Bhumika, and this. What is your name? Anjana, you come here. Come here. Kamal. Ah, come. Ayo, my favorite person. Come. Can't see. It will be seen. Huh? Come, come. Now, everything is visible. Come. Madam. Ah. Everyone, shift one bench ahead. Come on, fast, 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 fast. I will have to tell you how to sit in the class now. Wow. Now this looks like a class. Everyone is scattered, sitting wherever you want. These two girls are good. You sit on the first bench. First bench should not be empty, you know. Shift, shift. What? You. ah. Okay, now it is good. Yes. See, now entertainment allowance reduction we have already discussed and the taxability already discussed. Now see, sometimes what can happen in the examination, no, they will give you entertainment allowance. Okay. And they will say entertainment allowance received 1,000 per month. How much? and they will deliberately give you this information that out of the entertainment allowance, rupees 800 per month is spent for the hospitality of the clients. They will give you this information. What are the effects? Remember, entertainment allowance received, what are we supposed to do? Taxable, and if government employee is there not following 115 BSc, then we are supposed to take the deduction. Yes or no? In the deduction, did you see any amount, any limit you are taking as amount spent out of entertainment allowance? That means the deduction which is given is not based on amount spent, not based on amount spent. What is the amount of deduction? Either the entertainment allowance received, or 1/5 of basic, or maximum 5,000. There is no requirement that you spend the entertainment allowance, then you are going to get any deduction. And even then, they will give you this information that out of the entertainment allowance, 1,000 rupees per month, because entertainment allowance, out of that, you have spent how much? 800 per month. You have spent how much? 800 per month. What effect you will give to this? Don't tell me. Underline sites that you are supposed to write down bullshit. This information regarding the spending out of the entertainment allowance is not relevant. Based on the amount spent out of entertainment allowance, you are not going to get deduction, and based on this, you are not going to get any exemption. Then why this amount is given in the question? Confuse you. That either you take deduction, or you consider, either you consider this amount while taking the deduction, or you take this amount as exemption. Understanding? So if it is given in the question that entertainment allowance is spent this much, what will you do? Ignore the amount spent out of entertainment allowance. Why? Because based on the amount spent, you don't get any exemption or you don't get any deduction. Yes or no? Sometimes it will be deliberately given that whatever entertainment allowance you are receiving, you have not spent it at all. No spending. So spending is not required to claim the deduction. Deduction is based on limits A, B, C, whichever is lower. Even if you spend, not the amount spent, even if you don't spend, don't give any importance to that information. Entertainment allowance is taxable, and the deduction does not depend on amount spent, or it does not depend on the fact that if you have not spent, the deduction will not be allowed. Yes or no? So all these informations are irrelevant. All these informations are irrelevant. So what are you going to do? Amount actually spent on entertainment out of entertainment allowance. What is to be done? Ignored. Yes or no? Now after this, see, we have categorized the allowances into two parts. One, taxable allowances. One, and two, exempt allowances. Taxable allowances, first allowances, dearness allowance, that we have seen. Second, entertainment allowance, that we have also seen. All other allowances are also taxable. But now exempt allowances are very important. You have to focus on this. Exempt allowances. Now, which are the allowances that are exempt? See, under the exempt allowances, few allowances are fully exempt. Few allowances are partly exempt and partly. Now, which are the fully exempt allowances? A, B, and C. A, B, and C allowances. The names you will have to remember. Okay. Now, see, partly exempt and partly taxable. So, under the partly exempt and partly taxable, few allowances will be exempt under 10 subsection 14. And one allowance is exempt under section 1013A. Now, 1013A talks about house rent allowance, HRA. And 1014 will talk about some special allowances which are exempt based on the amount spent. Based on the amount, and few allowances under section 1014 will be exempt, but they will be exempt based on the limits prescribed in IT rules. So first of all, tell me, exempt allowances. Which allowances? How many types? Number one, fully exempt. Number one, how many? A, B, three allowances. The names you are supposed to remember. So first allowance is allowances given to judges. Judges of the court, High Court, Supreme Court. Yes or no? Whatever allowances they will receive, be exempt. Now allowances to employees of UNO means United Nations Organization. So if there is an employee of United Nations Organization, okay. So employees of United Nations Organization, whatever allowances they will get, they will be getting the full exemption. Even if you don't remember these two names, no problem, because hardly or rarely asked in the exam, but this is frequently asked in the exam, and I know that I have already discussed this allowance with you. Any foreign allowance, any foreign allowance and perquisites to an Indian citizen by the who is rendering services outside India. So he receives salary also. Salary becomes taxable, but if he'll receive allowances, foreign perquisites, then it will be fully exempt. So three allowances. Number one, allowances given to judges of the court. Allowances given to employees of United Nations Organization. And number three, foreign allowance and perquisites given to Indian citizen for rendering services outside India by the government. That is exempt under section 10 subsection 7. Okay, no? Now see, exempt allowances has second category. Some allowances are partly exempt, partly and partly taxable, partly exempt and partly, but in this allowances there are further two categories. Few allowances are exempt under section 10(14). There are some special allowances. Which allowances? Now, out of these special allowances, few allowances will be exempt based on amount spent. So whatever amount spent out of that allowance, to that extent the allowance will be exempt and the balance will be taxable. And few allowances will be exempt based on limits. Limits given in rule 2BB of income tax rule. There is one rule 2BB in the income tax rule, that rule 2BB, the limits are given. The limits are, if you receive allowances to the extent of such limits, the allowance will be exempt. Now, these special allowances, these 1, 2, 3, then 4, then 5, then 6 allowances are there. And here also, based on the limits prescribed in IT rules, we are going to see 6 allowances. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes or no? Everyone. Now these 6 names in each category you are supposed to remember. Okay. And one allowance will be exempt under section 1013A. That is HRA. That is house rent. First of all, exempt allowances. Fully exempt. Number one, allowances given to judges. B, allowances given to the employees of UNO, United Nations Organization. C, foreign allowance and perquisite given to Indian citizen to render services outside India by the government. Fully exempt under section 10(7). Partly exempt, partly taxable. 1013, partly exempt, partly taxable. One allowance is 1013. Exemption is given in 1013A. For which allowance? What are you going to do? HRA from your employer. House rent allowance from your employer. Out of that HRA, some HRA will be exempt. Some HRA will be, and the balance HRA is not exempt under section 1013A be taxable under the head salary. So part of the HRA will be exempt and part of the HRA will be taxable. Yes or no? Hello? Exempt in which section? So we are doing partly taxable, partly exempt. Partly taxable, partly exempt. Which are the partly taxable, partly exempt allowance? First one, HRA, house rent allowance. Exemption given under section 1013A. Now we will go in 1014. Then there are some special allowances. There are some given under section 1014. Given under section, these allowances will also be exempt. But sometimes some special allowances will be exempt based on the amount spent, and some special allowances will be exempt based on the limits described in IT rules. Rule 2BB. Yes or no? Now, 1. Traveling. 2. Daily. 3. Conveyance. 4. Academic or search. 5. Helper. And 6. Uniform. So the names of these allowances. Number 1, traveling allowance. Number 2, daily allowance. Number 3, conveyance allowance. Number 4, academic or research allowance. Number 5, helper allowance. Number 6, any of these allowances. Employer is giving these allowances. Whatever amount spent out of these allowances for the purpose for which the allowance was given. So the traveling allowance is given for traveling. Spend the allowance for traveling and take the exemption. Daily allowance is given to meet daily expenses which are incurred in the course of employment. Spend this allowance for daily expenses. Take the exemption. Hello? Then conveyance allowance given to meet the cost incurred while running the conveyance. Conveyance means vehicle. Conveyance means this is an allowance given for a vehicle used in the course of your employment. So to perform your duties while you are on employment, to perform your duties, might be using some vehicle like scooter, motorcycle, motor car, any type of vehicle you can use while performing your official duties. So even you have to incur the cost on that vehicle, no? Petrol, diesel, no, maintenance, etc., repairing, etc. Each such cost, allowance will be given. What will be the name of this allowance? Conveyance allowance. So whatever amount you have spent on the conveyance out of conveyance allowance will be exempt. Yes or no? Then academic or research allowance. Usually you have to keep yourself updated. You have to take different types of you have to learn different things for the purpose of your employment. You might need get yourself educated, some research, etc. So for the purpose of employment, there is a possibility that you might have to, some reading, some updations, then you will have to some research, etc. So to do that research, to get yourself educated so that you can work in a more efficient manner. The employer might give you academic or search allowance. Next one, helper allowance. So to help you perform your duties better, might be requiring some helper. The employer might give you an allowance to keep a helper for yourself. Might help you to perform your duties better. Then uniform allowance can be given to maintain and to make uniform which you are supposed to wear while you come to the office every day. Yes or no? Two organizations have a dress code. If you come to the office, you have to come in a particular uniform. So to make that uniform, to maintain that uniform, ironing, laundry, yes or no? Some allowance is given, named as uniform allowance. Now all these allowances, if are official in nature. Sir, so whatever allowance is given, it is given for some purpose. If that allowance is fully spent for the purpose for which it is given, it will be fully exempt. And if it is not fully spent, some part is spent and some part remains unspent, the part which is spent out of the allowance, to that extent your allowance will be exempt. The remaining part which remains unspent cannot be exempted, will be taxable. Yes or no? What if you spend more? Full allowance is spent only, no? Full allowance exempt. So for example, traveling allowance is given. Allowance 5,000 rupees per month. Why it is given? Meet the cost of traveling, which you might incur in the course of performing your duties. In the course of performing your duties, while you are on employment, you might have to travel. So to do that traveling, your employer might give you traveling allowance. How much allowance he has given? 5,000 rupees per month. You have spent only 3,000 on traveling. Remaining 2,000, are you going to return to your employer? No. 5,000 is given, assuming that it will be spent fully on traveling. Yes or no? 5,000, have you spent the entire 5,000 on traveling? Or only 3,000? Out of 5,000, 3,000 will be exempt under section 10(14). Under section 10. Under section 10(14), out of these allowances, how much will be exempt? The extent it is spent. So, out of 5,000, how much is spent? 3,000. 3,000 will be exempt. The balance amount which is not spent out of these allowances cannot be exempt under 10(14). Will be taxable. So, you receive 5,000, spend 3,000. How much will be taxable? How much will be exempt? Exempt under which section? 10(14). Yes or no? No, wait. 5,000 you received. You spent entire 5,000. How much will be exempt? Full exempt. Full 5,000. So how much will be taxable? 0. If you received 5,000 for traveling, you spent 7,000 on traveling. Meaning 5,000 is fully spent, no? Full 5,000 exempt. 1,000 extra you have spent. Definitely, the employer is not giving you that 2,000 as allowance that you might have spent from your own pocket. Hello? Are you going to claim the reimbursement for that? Yes. Go and tell the employer that, employer, you are giving me how much? 5,000 rupees as traveling. Entire 5,000 is spent and 2,000 extra I have spent from my pocket. Please reimburse. Because that amount is spent for official purpose, official traveling. Yes or no? So give that 2,000 back to me. Submit the bills and you will get the fees back from your employer as a reimbursement. That 2,000 rupees you have already spent on the official traveling coming back to you in the form of reimbursement. That is not your 2,000 spent officially given back to you. Not your income. No need to give any effect to that. But how much allowance you received? How much allowance you received? Did this entire have you spent this entire 5,000? Yes. In the 7,000 rupees amount spent for traveling, this 5,000 is fully spent. So it is fully exempt. Fully. Nothing will be taxable. And the 2,000 extra spent will be from your pocket. Official spending that you are going to get as a reimbursement. Will it be your income? Will it be taxable? Ignore. Did you understand the treatment? Same treatment has to be given for daily allowance, conveyance allowance, academic or research allowance, helper allowance, or will you remember? So how many allowances? 6. Number 1. Number 2, daily allowance. Number 3, conveyance allowance. Number 4, academic or research allowance. Number 5, helper allowance. Number 4, 6, uniform allowance. If you see any of these allowance, 100% in the question it will be given that out of this allowance how much is spent. To the extent it is spent, it will be exempt, and the amount remaining unspent out of these allowance will not be exempt, will be taxable. You remember? Okay. Now, sometimes in the exam, they will just give the name of allowance. Traveling allowance. Or say for example, they are saying conveyance allowance. 3,000 rupees per month. Conveyance allowance, 3,000 rupees per month. That's it. How much will be? You know, sir had said that conveyance allowance will be exempt based on the amount spent. To read the entire question, nowhere it is written that how much is spent out of this allowance. They have just given you the amount of allowance. They have not given how much amount spent. Then you will have to make an assumption that in the absence of any specific information regarding the amount spent out of this allowance, it is assumed as if the allowance is fully spent and fully exempt. Don't want us to fully exempt, give us the amount of expense. We will exempt to the amount spent. But if you are not telling that how much is spent, we'll have to take some assumption, and we are assuming as if it is fully spent, hence it is fully exempt. But you'll have to put a small note your answer. Understood? Sir, now see. Beta, what have I done? If you follow default tax rate, which tax regime? Then cannot claim exemption for academic or research allowance, helper allowance, or meaning follow default tax regime 115. These three allowances are still exempt. Meaning for these three allowances, don't check which regime you are following. You are following default or you are following optional. You are following default or you are following, these three allowances will always be exempt based on amount spent, based on amount. But these three allowances will be exempt only if you shift out of the default tax regime. You remember? Hello? So which three allowances? Traveling, daily allowance, and conveyance allowance. These three allowances will be exempt even if you follow 115 BSc or you don't follow 115 BSc. But if you follow 115 BSc, you are in the default tax regime, then don't take any exemption for academic or research allowance, helper allowance, and uniform allowance. In that case, these three allowances will be fully taxable. No exemption will be available. Or no? But if you shift out, then you can claim the exemption for these three allowances also. But it, sure. Okay. Now you have to remember these names. How will you remember? Sir, we will make a key. ED, A, HU. Does this make any sense? Nonsense. Then if you'll make the key, right now you will remember for traveling. After 3 days, I'll ask you, no, you'll say T for telephone allowance. So, T stands for traveling allowance also. T stands for telephone. It stands for tiffin allowance also. T stands for T allowance also. The D. Right now you'll remember it is daily allowance. After 2 days, it was, I guess it was dearness allowance. Don't remember with these kind of keys, huh? It will be a blunder. Remember the names. Remember the first name, second name, third name, next one, academic or research. Next one. Make a story and use these words. That story. And the story should be weird. If it is a normal story, no, you will not remember. The story should be odd. It should be weird. I'm traveling in a conveyance. I'll close my eyes. I will think I am traveling daily. In a conveyance. Conveyance means any vehicle. Like, for example, I will imagine scooter. I am traveling daily on a conveyance. In a conveyance. Any academic or research helper. And we both are in uniform. I imagine like that. Close the eyes, imagine about this story. I'm traveling daily in a conveyance with academic or research helper, and we both are in. Can make stories like this or make some other story and use these words, but only these allowances are exempt. Section 1014 based on amount spent. Okay. Now I'll give you the name of 6 more allowances. Okay. One is children education allowance. Two is children hostel expenditure allowance. Three is running or outstation allowance. Next one is running or outstation transport. Transport, or sometimes also known as commutation. Commutation. Sometimes you call it commutation allowance, sometimes you call it transport allowance. One and the same. Okay, no? Underground area allowance, underground or mining area allowance. Then tribal area allowance or scheduled area allowance. Now these 6 names you are supposed to remember. If your employer is giving any of these allowances, they are given to meet personal expenses or as a compensation for extreme working condition. Or no? Now if you get children education allowance, will it be exempt? Yes. Section 1014 says that children education allowance will be exempt. These allowances will be also exempt as per section 1014 only. But the exemption is not based on amount spent out of these allowances. Now the exemption out of these allowances will be based on limits which are given in income tax rules. Rule 2BB. Now you'll have to go to rule 2BB and you will find out the limits for these allowances. Now if you'll go to rule 2BB, this children education allowance, as per rule 2BB, the limit is 100 per month per child and maximum 2 children. Children education allowance is exempt provided it is 100 per month per child or less than that. Fully exempt. But if you are receiving children education allowance, the amount is more than 100 per month per child, then exemption will be available only for 100 rupees. Excess amount will be taxable. And this exemption also you can take for maximum 2 children. So for example, you are receiving 200, 200, 200 per month for your 3 children. So first child 100 exempt, 100 taxable. Second child 100 exempt, 100 taxable. Third child full 200 taxable. You cannot take the exemption for allowance received for children more than you are receiving allowance for one child. You are receiving allowance for that allowance can be exempt up to rupees 100. For that one child, if you are receiving 400 rupees from your employer, How much will be exempt? 100. Balance 300 will be taxable. If you are having 2 children and for both the children, your employer is giving you 300 per month. 100 will be exempt, 200 will be taxable. Yes or no? Can your employer give you allowance for more than 2 children? Can he give you allowance for more than 2 children? Yes. Your employer is mad. We are not mad that we are going to give you exemption for all your children's allowance. Yes or no? Employer can give you allowance for your 5 children. How many children? All the 5 children, employer is giving you 150, 150, 150, 150, 150. Hello? What do you think? Give exemption for 100 for all the 5 children or maximum 2? So take the exemption for maximum 2 children. But the amount which will exempt will be maximum 100 per month per child. Hello? So you receive allowance for children education. Children, how much is the limit? 100 per month per child, and that too also for maximum 2 children, you can take this exemption. For other children, the full allowance received will be taxable. So if you receive 100 per month per child or a less amount, then the full amount will be exempt for maximum 2 children. For maximum, if you receive more than 100 per month per child, then amount up to 100 will be exempt. Excess will be taxable, but 100 will be exempt. Excess will be taxable for maximum 2 children. For other children, allowance taxable. Now, your employer is giving you 80 rupees per month per child for your 3 children. Get 80, 80, 80. 80 for first 2 children will be fully exempt. 80 rupees for the third child will be fully taxable. So, but the amount was less than, but that amount is for third child, no? So, even if the amount is less than 100, you cannot take the exemption for more than 2 children. Getting my point? You are getting 120, 120, 120 for 3 children. Then 100 will be exempt for, sir, 100 give me from third. Not possible. Third child full 120 taxable. Will you remember this? So the limit for children education allowance is 100 per month per child for maximum. Now for hostel expenditure allowance, it is 300 per month per child, 300 per month per child for maximum 2 children. So first of all, tell me, children education allowance, how much is exempt? 100 per month per child for maximum 2 children. Children hostel expenditure allowance, 300 per month per child, and that too also for maximum 2 children. Okay, then we'll get running allowance or outstation allowance. When you run the vehicle of your employer or you take your employer vehicle outstation, then you get this type of allowance. You are a driver. Yes, only the drivers are there, cleaners are there. In any transport company, they take the vehicles of their employer outstation. They run the vehicles of their employer. The employee who will be running the vehicle of the employer is going to get this. Employee who is taking the vehicle of the employer outstation is going to get this allowance. The employer has to be employer in transport sector. Transport. So this exemption, we are talking about only those employees who are employed by employers in transport sector. Your employer should be having transport business. You are an employee, but your employer should be having transport business. So in that transport business, you are running the vehicle of your employer. You are taking the vehicle of your employer outstation. So while you will be running the vehicle, while you will be taking the vehicles outstation, so there are many expenses on the way. While running the vehicle, you might have to incur for yourself. Like, you'll be running the vehicle straight away for 10 days, 15 days sometimes. So taking the vehicle from Bangalore to Rajasthan. The distance is not, the distance is very far. It might take 2 days, it might take 4 days, 5 days to reach. Okay, no? So on the way, you continuously drive. You have to take some rest. Without eating, you will drive. Or you'll have to eat something. You have to eat, you'll have to take rest. Many other expenses might happen on the way. Yes or no? So to meet all those expenses, personal expenses, while you are running the vehicle of your employer, while you are taking the vehicle outstation, your employer might give you outstation allowance or running allowance. Yes or no? If this allowance is given to the employees in transport sector, employees in, and the employee should not be receiving daily allowance. Because if he is getting daily allowance, so to meet the daily expenses, he is already getting daily allowances, which he might already be claiming as exempt. Then this allowance will be fully taxable. Then it will be fully, then no exemption will be available. To claim the exemption, two conditions are there. Number one, this allowance should be given to employees of transport sector, employees of, and number two, the employee to whom this allowance is given should not be receiving daily allowance from the employer. If both these conditions are satisfied, if both these conditions are, then your running or outstation allowance will also be exempt. And the exemption will be 70% of amount received or maximum 10,000 rupees per month, whichever is. What are you supposed to do? Check how much running allowance is given. Oh, 18,000, sorry, 15,000 rupees per month. How much? 70% of this. Calculate. 70% of this. 10,000 per month or 10,000, whichever is lower. So how much exemption? If you are receiving 20,000 per month, 20,000 per month, then 70% will be, or 10,000, whichever is lower. So 10,000 will be exempt. If you are receiving 8,000 rupees per month, 70% of that, or 10,000, whichever is 5,600 will be exempt. Yes or no? Everyone? But this exemption you are going to calculate and take only if you are the employee of transport sector, not receiving daily allowance from your employer. Okay? Sir, next one. Now, transport allowance can be there. Which allowance? Or sometimes also known as commutation allowance. Transport or see your house, and this is your office. From your house, you'll come to office. And once you do the job for today, again go back to your house. Coming to office, going to house. Will you travel? Will you commute? Transportation will happen. Commutation will happen between office to residence, residence to office. So to meet the cost of this transportation between office to residence and residence to office, a fixed amount is given on a regular basis, known as what? Transport allowance or commutation allowance. Somebody coming from very far away. Hello? For example, which is, madam, you come from, as you said yesterday, Hosur. How much is for? How much it is for? 3 hours. Okay. Hosur. Somebody might come to Bangalore for work from Hosur. Just imagine the place is very far away. So from there, you have to either take the bus, you'll have to take the metro, and then you'll come to the office. On this traveling, per day basis, 2 to 300 rupees will be spent for doing this traveling. And again going back, the distance is long, 200-300 rupees spent every day. The employer thinks, poor fellow coming from very far, or no, on every day traveling from office to residence and residence to office, he has to spend a lot. Wait, I will give him some allowance. From this, to meet the cost of your commute. Cost of your commute between office and residence. So to meet the cost of your transportation, to meet the cost of your commute between office and residence, the employer gives you commutation allowance or transport allowance. What are you going to do with this? Exempt. Yes, transport or commutation allowance will be exempt up to 3,200 per month. If your employer is giving you 3,200 or less amount, it will be exempt. It will be fully. But if he is giving you more than 3,200 per month, then only 3,200 will be exempt and the balance will be. But to get this exemption, the employee should be handicapped. Employee should be handicapped. Normal employees cannot take this exemption. So if you want to take, become handicapped. Get the allowance and we are going to give you exemption. But if a normal employee gets transport or commutation allowance, then fully taxable for him. 3,200 exemption is available only for 2 years back. No, 1,600 was exempt for normal employees also. That time standard deduction was not available. That time standard deduction from salary was not available, and normal employees were also getting exemption. But now it is not there. Standard deduction is given, no, that takes care of type of thing. Getting my point? So how much exemption for handicap employee? If the handicap employee receiving 1,200 or less, the exempt. More, 3,200 exempt, excess taxable. And if normal employee receiving 2,000, then also receiving 1,000, then also receiving 5,000, then also normal employee receiving whatever amount of commutation or transport allowance will be fully taxable. Will you remember? So after transport and commutation allowance, now it is underground area. Which area? Underground area or mining area allowance. The limit is 800 per month. Limit is per child. Per month, per child, or only per month. So underground area allowance or mining area allowance, if you receive 800 per month or you receive less than 800 per month, then it will be fully exempt. But if you receive more than 800 per month, then 800 will be exempt and the balance will be taxable. Yes or no? Now there is one more allowance, tribal area or scheduled area allowance. Tribal area, or the limit is 200 rupees per month. Limit is up to 200 per month. Whatever amount received will be exempt. Any amount over and above 200 will be taxable. Will you remember? You are receiving only 150 per month. Fully exempt. You are receiving 180 per month. You are receiving 200 per month. You are receiving 290 rupees per month. 200 exempt, 90 taxable. You are receiving 800 per month. 200 will be exempt, and but mining area allowance, the limit is 800. Okay. Limits you will remember. These limits are not made from my mind. Limits are given in IT rules. IT rules, income tax rules. Which rule? Rule 2BB. So in income tax rule, there is rule 2BB. The rule 2BB, these limits are written for these allowances. So if you receive any of these allowances and the amount is equal to limit or less than the limit, then the amount will be fully exempt. But if you receive these allowances and the amount is more than these limits, then take the exemption up to limit and the excess amount will be taxable. Okay. No need to spend any amount out of this allowance. Take the exemption. If you want to claim the exemption is available based on limits only. So based to the extent of limits, claim the exemption. Even if you don't spend any amount out of these allowances, hello, then also the exemption is available. So there is no requirement that to get the exemption, you'll have to spend the money. Amount spent out of this allowance is not required. That is required for the earlier 6 allowances. To remember. Get the exemption of traveling allowance, you'll have to spend traveling allowance. Get the exemption of uniform allowance, you'll have to spend uniform allowance. But there is no requirement of spending the amount out of these allowances to take the exemption. Why? Because the amount of exemption does not depend on spending, it depends on limits described under IT rules. Hello, sir. What if children education allowance is received and you don't spend anything out of the children education? Then also it will be exempt. Why? Exemption does not depend on amount spent. Exemption depends on IT rule limit. Okay. Hello. Commutation allowance received 1,000 rupees per month by a handicap employee. Not spending a single rupee. Still it will be exempt. Even if that allowance is not spent, it will be exempt. Yes or no? But they might give you that out of the commutation allowance, you are spending some amount. The amount spent out of these allowance is irrelevant because you don't get any exemption based on the amount spent. Ignore the amount spent. Ignore the details of amount spent. Ignore the details, information that the amount was not spent. All these details are irrelevant. What is important? Limits. Kept in IT rule. Do you remember the limits? Children education. 100 per month per child. Second one. Children hostel expenditure allowance 300 per month per child. Both these allowances can be exempt for maximum 2 children. Then running or outstation allowance. Running or 70% of the amount received or 10,000 rupees per month. Whichever is. But this exemption will be available only if you are the employee of transport sector not receiving daily allowance. Yes or no? Then traveling or commutation allowance. Limit is 3,200 per month. Only for handicap employees. Normal employees, fully taxable. Yes or no? No exemption. Then next one, underground or mining area allowance. Underground or mining area allowance. 800 per month. And tribal or tribal area allowance or scheduled area allowance. Maximum 200 per month. Yes or no? Now see, special allowances. My chart, special allowances. Exemption under section. Few allowances exempt based on amount. Few allowances exempt based on the limits. Yes or no? Come to this. Read this part. Start reading from note number 4. Come on. On amount spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now out of 6, first 3 are exempt. First 3 are follow 115 BSc or you don't follow 115. But last 3 will be exempt only if you shift out. Meaning that see, I have done the numbering. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All these allowances will be exempt if you don't follow 115 BSc. But if you follow 115 BSc, you can take the exemption only for first three allowances. Allowance number 4, 5 and 6 will not be exempt. It will be fully taxable. Yes or no? Now, example. Please see this example. Read this part. This part also. Full. This much you have to read. Done. Did I explain something like this? Okay. Now, first allowance. Children education allowance. Children hostel expenditure allowance. Running or outstation allowance. Okay. Number 4. Commutation or transport allowance. Underground area allowance. Tribal or schedule area allowance. Can you see the limit? 100, 2 children. 300, 2 children. 70% or 10,000, whichever is lower, based on two conditions. Commutation or transport allowance 3,200 only for handicap employees. Underground mining area allowance 800. Tribal area allowance 200. Can you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you see 4? This allowance? Commutation or how much exempt per month? Yes or no? Only if the employee is, if you follow 115 BSc, then also this exemption is only for this allowance. Meaning, you follow 115 BSc or you don't follow 115 BSc, this allowance will be exempt. But all other allowances will be exempt only if you shift out. Only if you, meaning children education allowance, hostel expenditure allowance, running allowance, underground area allowance, mining area or tribal area allowance. Yes or no? These exemptions, these limits will be available only if you shift out. But if you follow default tax regime, then these allowances will be fully taxable for you. You will not get any exemption. So can you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? All the allowances will be exempt if you follow 115 BSc. But sorry, if you don't follow 115 BSc. If you follow 115 BSc, then none of the allowances will be exempt except 4. And what was 4? Commutation or transport allowance. Yes or no? Do you remember? Now see, somebody will say, sir, traveling allowance we saw here, then one conveyance allowance we saw here, and the fourth point was commutation or transport allowance. Sir, according to us, all these allowances are same only. That means you have not listened to me carefully. If still you feel that these three allowances are transport allowance or commutation allowance is given to meet the cost of fixed traveling between your residence to office only. You know, transport or commutation allowance is given to meet the cost of fixed traveling between your residence to office. For other traveling, another allowance is that is known as traveling allowance. This is the traveling allowance. And conveyance allowance, by the way, is not given for traveling. It is given for the vehicle. Conveyance means vehicle. It is used while performing your duties. So to meet the cost of vehicles, which are used while performing the official duties, like cost of petrol, cost of diesel, cost of repair maintenance, etc. To meet such costs on the conveyance, costs of the vehicle, an allowance is also given. That is known as conveyance allowance. And there are different names of conveyance allowance. Sometimes motor car allowance can be. What is motor car allowance? Motor car is a conveyance. Hello? to meet the cost of motor car, cost of petrol, diesel, repair maintenance of motor car, an allowance can be given, known as motor car allowance. This motor car is as good as conveyance allowance. Sometimes it can be given on the name of scooter allowance. Sometimes it can be given on the name of diesel allowance. Sometimes it can be given on the name of. All these are a type of conveyance allowance. These are the allowances given to meet the cost on your conveyance. Sir, still I am getting some confusion between traveling and confused. And if you don't know the difference, it will not make any difference. Why? Because the tax treatment for both these allowances are same. Traveling allowance, conveyance allowance will be exempt under 1014 based on the amount spent. The extent of amount spent, take the exemption, that's it. And both allowances are exempt even if you follow 115 BSc or you don't follow 115 BSc. So in the terms of tax treatment, you'll never go wrong, even if you think that traveling allowance was a conveyance allowance. Misinterpreted. Then also there will be no problem. Yes or no? But don't mix traveling and conveyance with commutation, because this is absolutely different. Yes or no? Hello? So 6 allowances here, 6 allowances here. Now see, when you'll go and read Rule 2BB no, of the income tax rule, only these allowances are not given. Few more allowances are given, like high altitude area allowance, border area allowance, okay, then disturbed area allowance. Many more allowances are given into. I have deliberately not taken those allowances in my notes. Why? Completely useless. Never asked in the exam. Those allowances are usually given to soldiers who are serving as a soldier, individual who are serving as soldiers. Usually, soldiers, if kind of allowances are given, and in the question they will tell you, Mr. X is an employee of Alpha Limited. So Mr. X is a soldier. So for him, these type of allowances will not be available only. And usually the questions are framed, the exam, for private employees who are not soldiers. So for these type of employees, which allowances become important? These allowances. These allowances are asked on a repetitive basis in the exams. If you want to know for the sake of general knowledge, go and check these allowances in your ICI study mat. Any allowances apart from these 6 do not have any practical implication in the question. Hence, those allowances are not separately considered by me. Yes or no? If you want to read, you can go and read in your ICI study mat. Extra given. Read it once. Maybe it can be useful somewhere, someday, but not for your exams. What are the relevant allowances? Every allowance is covered. So total 12 allowances. 6 here, 6 here. They are known as special allowances. Exemption is given under section 1014 for these 6 allowances based on amount spent. For these 6 allowances based on limits prescribed in IT rules. Limits we have to remember. Do you remember now? Now you have to remember the names. Children, children. Weird story, huh? Children, 2 children. Children, children. And what the children will do? Running and commuting. Where? Underground in tribal area. That's it. So children, children, 2 children. Running and commuting. Where? Underground in tribal area. Done. 6 names we remember. Okay. Okay, now pay attention. Amount actually spent out of these allowances, ignored. Done, no? Now see. Let's come to the exempt category. Exempt allowances. Fully exempt. Fully exempt. A, B, fully exempt. Allowances to Allowances to employees of foreign allowances and perquisite to an Indian citizen by the government exempt under without any conditions. These are exempt. If you follow 115, sorry, if you don't follow, all the three allowances are exempt, fully exempt. Huh? But if you follow 115 BSc, if you follow, first two allowances will be taxable, no exemption will be given. And last allowance means this one, foreign allowance and perquisite to an Indian citizen by the government will be exempt. Wait, this allowance will be exempt if you follow 115 BSc or if you don't follow 115 BSc. It will not make any difference. But these two allowances will be exempt only if you shift out. Only if you, okay, no? Then if you follow 115 BSc, then these two allowances will not be exempt. They will be fully taxable. Done, sir? Now come to the partly exempt and partly taxable category. Partly exempt, partly taxable. Special allowances. Exempt under section based on amount spent. 6 names. Traveling, daily, in a conveyance, with academic or research, helper, and we both are in uniform. Done. Now, 6 more allowances which are exempt based on the limits prescribed in IT rules. Children, 2 children, running and commuting, where? Underground, in tribal area. That's it. Now I have to remember the unit. Children education allowance, 100 PMPC, 2 children. Children hostel expenditure allowance, 300 PMPC, maximum 2 children. Then running or outstation allowance, 70% of the amount received or 10,000 per month, whichever is lower. Exemption available only if the employee is a transport sector employee and not receiving daily allowance. Then commutation allowance or transport allowance, 3,200 per month, maximum 3,200 per month, available only to handicap employee, meaning any allowance received by any commutation or transport allowance received by normal employee, not a handicap, then it will be fully taxable. Underground or mining area, 800 per month. Tribal area or schedule area, 200 per month. That's it. Okay. Have focus on these exempt allowances. Apart from this, whatever you see is taxable only. Understanding? One more allowance is exempt. Partly exempt and partly taxable. And that is house rent allowance. Which allowance? Which exemption for that is given under section? So let's go to note number 3. Okay, note number 3. We'll talk about house rent allowance. Are you an employee? Are you an employee? Your employer is giving you, see, any allowance given by the employer is your income only. Any allowance given by employer is your salary income only. Yes or no? So HRA given is also your salary income. HRA given is also, now the salary is given on the name of house rent allowance. What difference does it make? It is your salary income. But this salary income which is given on the name of HRA, house rent allowance, will be exempt under section 1013A. Will be exempt under section only if you shift out. Only if you. But if you don't shift out, your entire HRA will be fully taxable. If you want to claim the HRA exemption, remember you will have to shift out. You will have to, and if you shift out, your HRA can be exempt under section 1013A. Under section, but wait, to claim this exemption, you will have to first satisfy conditions. See, from the name, you can find out that this allowance is given to pay house rent. Hello? House rent allowance. Employer is giving you some extra salary in the name of house rent allowance, so that from this extra salary, from this HRA, you can pay rent of your house. Yes or no? That means if you want this exemption, the exemption will be available only if the employee does not stay in his own house. You don't own a house. You don't have a house, meaning you are staying in someone else. somebody else's house. Yes or no? And to stay there, you are paying the rent also. So if you want to claim the exemption, condition number 1, assessee does not own a house. He stays in somebody else's house. And to stay there, he's paying just paying the rent will not be enough. The rent which he is paying should be more than 10% of his. So whatever salary you are getting, 10% of that. Whatever salary you are getting, 10% of that. The rent paid should be more than 10% of your salary. Only then we will consider that you have a rental burden. And only then you will be eligible to claim the exemption. Wait. You are following 115 BSc. Then this HRA income will be fully taxable. Then don't talk about HRA exemption also. Yes or no? But if you are not following 115 BSc, if you are not following, then HRA exemption will be available. But to get that exemption, conditions you will have to fulfill. First condition, you should not have own house. You are not staying in own house. You are staying in others' house. You are staying in others' house. But to stay there, you are paying the rent. Rent payment should happen. Out of HRA, HRA will be spent to pay the rent. This month's HRA has to be spent to pay the rent. Only then this month's HRA we can exempt. But remember, the HRA which is spent to pay the rent, then that rent must be more than 10% of your salary. Then you will get HRA exemption. So assuming that all these conditions are fulfilled. Assuming that all these conditions are fulfilled. Now can I say your HRA income will be exempt? If you have satisfied all these conditions, can I say your HRA income will be exempt? Yes. How much? A, B, C, whichever is A, B, C, whichever is A, actual HRA. We cannot give you exemption more than the amount of income, no. So you can exempt how much? Maximum the amount of your income, or 50 or 40% of your, to that extent we can give you the exemption, or the amount of rent which is paid in excess of 10% of salary. Remember, this limit C must be positive. Limit C must be. Why, sir? Because if limit C is positive, only then the rent paid is more than. What if the limit C is nil or negative? Means the rent paid is not more than 10% of salary. This condition is not satisfied, exemption will not be available. If limit C is negative or nil. So limit C has to be, meaning the rent which is paid in excess of 10%, that we consider as your burden. Maximum 40 or 50% of your salary, or the amount actually received as HRA. Out of these three amounts, the lowest amount will be exempt from your HRA. So first, see how much HRA you are receiving. Out of that HRA, some amount will be exempt. But the amount which we are going to exempt will be the lowest amount out of these three amounts. A, actual HRA. A, B, either take 50% of your salary or take 40% of your salary. And limit C, rent paid in excess of 10%. So the rent burden over and about 10% of salary, whatever rent you are paying, that is your burden. Or 40 or 50% of your salary, that is what we feel you should have paid as rent. Yes or no? Or the actual HRA. Whichever is lower, we are going to give exemption. We are going to give exemption of this amount, lowest out of these three amounts. To that extent, your HRA will be exempt and the balance will be taxable. Yes or no? Now, sometimes you have to take 50% in limit B. Sometimes you have to take 50%. And in limit B, sometimes you have to take 40% of salary. Now see, when to take 50%, when to take 40%. Depends the rent paid in which city. So if HRA is received and from that HRA you are spending rent in MK, DC. MK, M for Mumbai, K for Kolkata, D for Delhi and C for Chennai. Metro city. Yes or no? Then you will take 50% of salary. Then limit B will be 50%. Don't take 40. Understanding? But if the HRA is received and out of that HRA you are paying rent in any non-metro city, in any other city other than Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi or Chennai. In any other city if you are paying the rent, then take 40% off. If you will pay in Bangalore, then 40%. Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata, Delhi, Jaipur, Udaipur, Ahmedabad, rent paid in which city you are supposed to see. Now all these things will be given in the question. You should know what to do. You should know what to do. To do these things, the information will be given in the question. And that information you will have to fetch. So first of all, are you an employee? Yes or no? Your employer is giving you? Is it a salary income for you? HRA is a salary income for you. Your HRA will be exempt. Only if you shift out. Only if you. But if you follow 115 BSc, then HRA exemption will not be available. HRA will be fully taxable. Okay. If you don't follow 115 BSc, you shift out. Then your HRA will be exempt. Under which section? But to get this exemption, you have to fulfill 1, 2, 3. These 3 conditions. If you satisfy all the 3 conditions, that means you don't have a house. You're not staying in your own house. You're staying in someone else's house. To stay there, you are paying rent. And the rent paid by you is more than 10% of your salary. Then you can claim this exemption. How much? A, B, C. Whichever is. A, B, C. Whichever is. To this extent, your HRA will be exempt and the balance will be taxable. What is A? Actual HRA. B, 50% of salary or 40% of salary. 50% you will take if the rent is paid out of HRA. In which city? Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi, Chennai. And if the rent paid in some other city, then 40% of salary will be limit B. Limit C is the rent paid in excess of 10%. So rent paid minus 10% of salary. This limit C should be positive. Limit C should be positive. If it is negative, then definitely this condition is not satisfied. Definitely no exemption. Entire HRA will be taxable. Getting my point? Now see, this HRA and the exemption has to be calculated based on salary. Based on, see, did you see here the salary word is used? Hello? You are supposed to take 40 or 50% of what? You are supposed to take 10% of what? Salary means what? So everywhere, wherever we are going to do the calculations, yes or no, for exemptions and other calculations, everywhere we are supposed to take salary as basic, DA in terms, turnover, commission. Only these 3 things we are going to take. So to calculate the HRA exemption, to calculate this exemption, we want salary. To calculate this exemption, we want. And in this salary, what are we going to take? Basic, DA in terms, turnover, commission. What are we going to take? Basic, DA in terms, turnover, commission. This will give me salary. This will give me. And this I have to take on what basis? Q for the period for which rent is actually paid. So if during the previous year, 12 months, the rent is paid, take the salary becoming due in these 12 months. Basic, DA in terms, turnover, commission only becoming due in these 12 months. If you calculate the HRA for full year and calculate the exemption for full year, because the rent is paid for full year, then take the salary which becomes due for the full year. Take the basic, take the DA in terms, take the turnover commission becoming due for the period for which the rent is paid. If HRA is received for the full year, HRA is received for the and rent is paid for the full year, then for the full year, whatever salary becomes due, take that salary. Basic, DA in terms, turnover, commission. Now, is it always possible? Is it always necessary that whatever HRA you are going to receive for the full year, that full year you will spend the rent also? For example, you are receiving HRA from April to March. You are receiving HRA from April to March, meaning for the full year you are receiving HRA, yes or no? So starting from 1st April 25 to 31st March 26. For the full period, you are receiving what? HRA you are receiving for the full period. But you start paying rent from 1st July 25. Only for this period, the rent is paid. Rent is paid. For this period, see, HRA is received. For this period, HRA is received also and spent in rent also. But is it possible that for the period prior to July, you are receiving HRA, but you are not paying rent? You have to take the salary which becomes due for the full year, only for the period for which the rent is paid. Salary which becomes due for the period for which rent is actually paid. So, period for which the rent is actually paid is from July to, this is the period for which the rent is paid. So, whatever salary will become due, hello, basic due in this period, DA in terms due in this period, then turnover commission due in this period. Only that amount you are going to take, because the HRA for these 7 months is spent in rent. The HRA for the first 3 months is not spent in rent. That HRA is going to be fully taxable. Fully. So why the bloody hell you are taking the salary for that period? Do one thing, no. If you will show full 12 months HRA, full 12-month rent is paid, then no problem. Full 12 months, whatever salary becoming due, basic, DA in terms and turnover, commission, that you take. Calculate the HRA exemption. Calculate the HRA and calculate the HRA exemption for the full year. Why exemption for the full year? Because the rent is paid for full year. So in that case, take the salary becoming due for the full year. Why? Because the rent is paid for full year. During this full year, whatever basic, whatever DA in terms, whatever turnover commission becoming due, take that. Now, you are taking the HRA for full year. Hello? But paying the rent only for 9 months. Paying the rent only for HRA you are taking for full year, because HRA you are receiving for full year. Yes or no? But the rent out of this HRA is paid only for 9 months. So, HRA exemption should be available only for 9 months. But if you will take the salary of full year, exemption you will calculate for the full year, and you will take the exemption for full year. Even for those 3 months, you will take the exemption for which the no rent was paid. Why are you taking the salary for that period for which the rent is not paid? Take the salary which becomes due. Take the salary which becomes in the period in which rent is paid. Yes or no? So to calculate the HRA exemption, I will have to take the salary which becomes due. Which becomes due in which period? The period in which the rent is paid. And that period is July to March. So whatever salary which becomes due in July to, based on that salary only, the exemption will be calculated. Don't take the salary which becomes due in this period. Because if you will take the salary for this period also, what will happen? You will calculate 50%, 40% of that salary. You will calculate 10% of that salary, meaning that salary is used to calculate your exemption. You will calculate the exemption for those 3 months also. So to avoid the confusion, simple thing I tell you, these 3 months, calculate HRA separately, fully taxable. These 9 months, take the HRA separately and take the salary becoming due in these 9 months. That's it. Will you be able to do it? First 3 months HRA, fully taxable. So no point of exemption only. No need to take the salary for those 3 months. Now, last 9 months, take the HRA of these 9 months and take the exemption. But the exemption you are calculating for these 9 months HRA. So for that, whatever salary which becomes due in these 9 months in which you have received the HRA and you have paid the rent. Yes or no? Salary which becomes due in this period has to be taken. Understanding? But see, no, be able to calculate the HRA exemption for full year or for 9 months only if 4 variables are same. 4 variables are, first variable I am saying, number 1, amount of HRA. Number 2, out of this, how much is rent paid. Number 3, location, means city where the rent is paid. And number 4, your salary, meaning basic DA incomes and turnover commission. Yes or no? Basic DA incomes and turnover commission. Now see, if you want to claim the exemption for these 9 months, okay, first of all think that the HRA for any month will be exempt only if rent is paid in that month. Rent is paid in, so April month HRA will be exempt. Why? Because rent is paid in April. May month HRA will be exempt. Why? Because May month rent is paid. June month HRA will be exempt because June also rent is paid. Now see, every month HRA you are receiving, starting from April to March. Every month HRA you are receiving. Every month rent is paid. So every month you are supposed to take the exemption. HRA, exemption. HRA, exemption. HRA, exemption. Now see, every month HRA is same. Every month rent paid is same. Every month the location where the rent paid is same. Every month your basic DA incomes turnover commission, basic DA incomes turnover commission, basic DA incomes turnover commission, same. HRA, same. Exemption, same. Taxable, every month the same amount will come, no? Do the same calculation 12 times. Or do the entire year's calculation at once. That is what. Instead of doing the same calculation 12 times, calculate the exemption once for a year. Yes or no? But what if any of these details change? Can your HRA change? During the previous year, can your HRA change? All of a sudden, you got an increment and your HRA from 20,000, employer started giving you 24,000. Amount of HRA can, and if amount of HRA will change, your exemption might also. Hello, sir. What if HRA remains same? Okay. But rent amount which you are paying, the rent gets increased or decreased. It can be anything. Hello. So during the previous year, in every month, rent paid is not same. Why? Because some months the rent paid is higher or lower. Can the rent paid change? Hello. So for those months, the HRA exemption will also change. Earlier you used to pay rent in Delhi. Now we have shifted to Gurugram, Gurgaon. So earlier you used to take 50%. Now you will have to take 40% because you have started paying rent in some other city. Hello? Will your exemption remain same or it will change? Salary, basic, DN terms, turnover commission, every month same. Then there is no problem. Then what happens? Salary gets get increment in the salary. Basic is increased. Because of increase in basic, your DA will change. Because DA was 20% of basic. So basic will change, DA will change. Hello? The possibility is there that your salary can also. See, if these four variables are same throughout the year, then HRA exemption for every month will be same. HRA amount every month is same. HRA exemption every month is same. Then why the bloody hell you are making this calculation 12 times? Same calculation is happening for April, May, June. Don't make the same calculation 12 times. Make the calculation once for the entire year. Multiplied by 12. Hello? But what if any of these details change during the previous year? HRA change during the previous year, or rent paid will change, amount of rent paid will change, or location changes. 40 will become 50, 50 will become 40. Salary, basic, DN terms, these details change. Now you cannot calculate the HRA exemption for the full year at once, because for few months HRA exemption will be different. For few months HRA exemption will be different. So taxable amount will be different. That you will have to calculate on a monthly basis now. If you calculate on monthly basis, what will happen? Whatever HRA is there for this month minus the exemption. And to calculate this exemption, what are you going to do? HRA of this month. Your 40% of salary which becomes due in this month. Yes or no? Rent paid for this month minus 10% of the salary which becomes due in this month. Salary has to be taken on due basis. Due for the period for which the rent is actually paid. Because for that period only you are going to claim exemption. If you are not paying rent out of HRA, that month's salary is fully taxable. Will you remember? So tell me, if I draw a timeline, in this timeline, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February and March. These months are there. Every month, HRA received, exemption is taken. Why? Because HRA is received and rent is paid every month. Hello? Everything is same. Nothing is changed. Then full year HRA multiplied by 12. Full year HRA. Rent is paid for the full year. Rent is paid for the full year. So whatever salary becomes due, basic, DA in terms, turnover commission, which becomes due for the full year, you have to take that. Exemption once out of full year's HRA, balance HRA taxable. Now what if for these 3 months rent is not paid? HRA received. You are receiving HRA, but rent is not paid. What are you going? April month HRA, fully taxable. May month HRA, fully taxable. June month HRA, fully taxable. These 3 months HRA, fully taxable. No need to claim any exemption. But for these 9 months, you are receiving HRA. You are receiving, and the rent is also paid. HRA is also received, rent is also paid. So for these 9 months, make the calculation. HRA multiplied by 9 months. HRA multiplied by 9 months. And for 9 months exemption, you have to take the salary of 9 months. So whatever salary becomes due in these 9 months, basic, DA incomes, turnover commission, take that salary. Hello? Based on these 9 months salary, the HRA exemption for 9 months will be calculated. So 9 months HRA, 9 months HRA exempt, whatever is balance, that will be taxable. That for 9 months you can do together. Why? Because every month HRA is same, rent is same, then location is same, basic DA in terms turnover commission is same. These details are not changing. So for these 9 months, make the calculations together. Hello? But what if during these 9 months, amount of HRA will change, or location changes, rent paid will change, details of salary will change, then now for 9 months, calculation cannot happen together. You'll have to do month-wise calculation. So for July, for HRA, for July month, claim the exemption separately. Whatever salary becoming due in July, whatever salary becoming due in basic, DA in terms, turnover commission. What did I say? Basic, DA in terms, turnover commission becoming due in July will be salary for July. Based on that salary, HRA exemption will be taken, and the balance will be taxable. So August, HRA received, yes or no? Rent is paid. So will you claim the exemption for August? Now to claim the exemption of August, you will have to take the salary of August. Basic, DA in terms, turnover commission becoming due in August. That will be the salary of August. Based on that salary, claim the exemption for August. Wait, if July and August both are same, you can calculate for these two together. Change is happening from September. Change is happening for, but September, October, November and December, for these 4 months, the data is same. And for these 4 months, you can calculate together. Getting my point? But if for every month the data is different, then for every month, separate HRA exemption, separate HRA taxable. You will be able to do it. 1 or 2 questions will solve. We'll come to know that whether we are actually able to do it or. And in the examination, if the salary question comes, no, 100% they ask allowance. Majority of the times it is HRA. Because students get stuck while calculating this exemption. They commit silly errors while calculating this exemption. So you are a silly student. You will commit silly errors. You are a smart student. Write your answer smartly. Yes or no? But how will you write without solving the question? Let's solve one question. But before that, see here. When 50%, when 40%, that we know. What salary is to be taken, that we know. Salary is taken for due basis, for the period for which the rent is. Because for that period HRA, you are going to get the exemption. You are not going to get any exemption for the period for which the HRA is received, but the rent is not paid. So ignore the salary of those months for which the rent is not paid, because for those months the entire HRA is going to be taxable. Now if all these 4 factors, that is salary, HRA, city and rent, They are same throughout. The exemption of HRA is to be computed for the full year at once into 12. Yes or no? But if these four factors change during the exemption of HRA is to be computed on month-wise basis. Done, sir? Special allowance is done. This exemption 1014, entire exemption is discussed. Now let's come to that format, that chart. Okay. See, two categories of allowances. Few are exempt, few are taxable. Few are in the taxable category. DA is there, entertainment allowance is there, and all other taxable allowances are there. Yes or no? But in the exempt category, fully exempt, partly taxable. Yes or no? So you have to remember fully exempt, partly taxable. In the partly exempt, partly taxable, HRE is also there, special allowances is also there. Yes or no? So this entire part you are supposed to remember very clearly. Okay. Sometimes you get exemption if you follow 115 BS. Which allowances are exempt even if you follow 115 BS? Traveling allowance, daily allowance, conveyance allowance. But wait. And from the other category, commutation allowance, transport allowance for handicaps. These four allowances will be exempt even if you follow, but other allowances will be fully taxable if you follow 115 BSc. Yes or no? HRA will be exempt if you don't follow 115 BSc, but if you follow 115 BSc, HRA will be fully taxable. Okay? Hello? Now see, what other allowances you can receive? Can you receive medical allowance? Can you receive overtime allowance? Can you receive lunch or tiffin allowance? Can you receive project allowance? Can you receive city compensatory allowance? Domestic, any other cash allowance by whatever name? If you see any allowance by any name, it will always be taxable. You just have to remember the exempt category. Everything, every allowance is taxable. So now whenever you will get any allowance, ask him, are you HRA? No, sorry. Are you an allowance received by judge? No. Oh, allowance received by employee of UNO? No. Foreign allowance? No. Oh, then you are HRA. No. Oh, then you are a special allowance. No. Traveling, daily, conveyance, academic research helper? No. Then children, two children. If none of these allowance is there, then taxable. Hello. Remember the exempt allowance. All other allowance, taxable. Okay. DA in terms, taxable. DA not in terms, taxable. Entertainment allowance, taxable. But entertainment allowance taxable, then you will get the deduction. Deduction under section 16 clause, only if you are a government employee and not following 115 BSc. And the deduction will be A, B, C, whichever is lower. Actual amount of entertainment allowance, 1/5 of basic or maximum 5,000, whichever is lower. Okay. So I've tried my best to make you all understand these allowances. Now you will have to try your best not to commit mistakes over here. Now, if you get any of these allowances, for example, your employer is giving you medical allowance, what will be the treatment? Sir, now they will give you out of the medical allowance, 2,000 rupees per month you are getting as what? Medical allowance. Out of that 2,000 rupees per month medical allowance, you are spending 1,800 per month for medical treatment, medicines, etc. Underline. And besides that, you will write down book it. Why? Because these allowances are fully taxable. Any amount spent out of the allowance are not going to allow you to take any deduction or exemption. Then ignore the amount spent out of the allowances. That information is irrelevant. Based on the amount spent out of these allowances, you are not going to get any exemption or deduction. And even if that information is given in the question, you have to ignore that information. No use of that information. Yes or no? Amount spent out of the above allowance for the purpose for which such allowance was given will be ignored. Will be understood. Dearness allowance done. Entertainment allowance done. HRA is done. Then special allowance is done. Then, okay. Now, two small discussions I'll make. Then we'll see some question. Okay. Now see, since I have already discussed entertainment allowance with you, entertainment allowance discussion has happened. So you get entertainment allowance, then you get deduction. If you're a government employee, which deduction you get? 16 clause 2. 16 clause is the deduction available for government employee. So entertainment allowance. Entertainment, for that the deduction is available under 16 clause 2. To whom? So I will write government employee over here. I will write, will the government employee get the deduction? Will the non-government employee get the deduction? Sure. No deduction. Perfect, no? Now pay attention. There are two more deductions. 16 clause B is also there, which talks about professional or employment tax. Okay. And 16 clause 1A is also there, which talks about standard deduction, which talks about, okay. My first question, if you are a government employee, will you get standard deduction? Yes. If you are a non-government employee, will you get standard deduction? Yes. If you are a government employee, will you get deduction for professional tax? Yes. If you are a non-government employee, will you get deduction for professional tax? Yes. There is only one place where you will not get the deduction. If you are a non-government employee, that is, can I say a government employee can claim all the three deductions, but a non-government employee will claim only two deduction. 16 clause 1 and 16 clause 2 is not available for, sir, hello, wait. If you are a government employee or a non-government employee, if you are and you are following 115 BSc, if you are following, professional tax deduction will not be available. Entertainment allowance deduction to the government employee will not be available. But standard deduction still you will get. Whether you are a government employee or a non-government employee, standard deduction you are going to still get. So first of all, standard deduction available to all employees. Government or, hello, available to all employees. Government or non-government employee. Okay. Whether they follow 115 BSc, they don't follow 115 BSc. Standard deduction will always be available to all types of employees. To all types of, whether they follow 115 BSc or don't follow 115 BSc. How much standard deduction? If you don't follow 115 BSc, means you shift out. Means you, so whether you are a government employee or a non-government employee, 50,000 standard deduction will be either the gross taxable salary or 50,000, whichever is lower. What if your gross taxable salary itself is lower than 50,000? Are you going to get 50,000 standard deduction? No. Entire amount of gross taxable salary, because that was less than 50,000. Getting my point? But what if your salary is more than 50,000? Gross taxable salary is more than 50,000. Then standard deduction 50,000. Then standard deduction 50,000 is available if you shift out. But if you don't shift out, then the amount of standard deduction will be increased. You start getting 75,000. You'll start getting. So if your gross taxable salary is up to 75 or less than 75, you will take the amount of gross taxable salary as standard deduction. But if your gross taxable salary is more, then 75,000 will be standard. Hello, sir. Fixed amount. What? Standard deduction. So, my first question. 16 clause 1A, standard deduction available to follow 115 BSc. What if you don't follow 115 BSc? What if you're a government employee? What if you're a non-government employee? Government, non-government, both can claim standard deduction, whether they follow 115 BSc or they don't follow 115 BSc. If they don't follow 115 BSc, then maximum 50,000. Maximum. And if they follow 115 BSc, then maximum 75,000. Will you remember? Let's come to entertainment allowance. If you are a government employee, can you claim exemption? Yes. Sorry, can you claim deduction? If you are a non-government employee, you cannot claim. You can claim deduction for entertainment allowance. Government employee, you can claim entertainment allowance deduction only if you shift out. You don't follow 115 BSc. You follow 115 BSc, then entertainment allowance will also not be available. Then, sir, for non-government employee, it is not going to make any difference. Whether they follow 115 BSc or they don't follow 115 BSc, this deduction is never available to them. Okay. Now, professional tax. Professional tax deduction is available to government employee, available to non-government employee if they shift out. But what if they don't shift out? This is also not available. This is also not available. Done, sir. But what is professional tax deduction? Any tax on the profession, on the employment paid to the state government is known as professional tax or employment tax. Are you paying professional tax or employment tax to the state government? It is a tax charged by the state government on your profession, on your employment, because the state government is providing you opportunity to do a profession here, to do an employment here. If you are doing some employment, if you are engaged in any employment in my state, so the state government says pay tax. Pay tax. Because you are engaged in any profession or employment in my state. And from that profession or employment, whatever income you are earning, on that income, you are supposed to pay tax to the central government in the form of income tax. We are not charging tax on your income of profession. Charging tax on profession. We are not charging tax on the income of your employment. Charging tax on employment itself. So, will you have any business? Sorry. Will you have any profession or employment? Tell me yes. The profession or employment, on this profession or employment, a tax is charged. On this profession or employment, a tax is charged. This tax is known as professional tax or employment tax. This tax is charged by the state government. Charged by the. Now, from this profession or employment, you will earn some income. Tell me yes or no. On this income, if tax is charged, this will be charged by. This will be charged by central government. So this is a tax charged on your income by the central government as per Income Tax Act. And this is a tax charged by the state government on your profession, on your employment as per professional tax of the respective state. Professional Tax Act of the respective state. So every state will have a professional tax act. As per the professional tax act of the state, state will charge tax on profession, tax on employment. Their state. And from that profession, from that employment, any income you are earning, on that income, a separate tax is charged as per the Income Tax Act by the central government. Or Income Tax Act. What are we doing? Under the Income Tax Act, we are charging tax on what? Income. Now, which income we are doing? salary income. We are doing, we are in the salary head, no? So, sir, so under the head salary, the central government is charging tax on your salary income. Central government is charging tax on your salary income under the head salary. Central government is saying from your salary, whatever professional or employment tax you have paid to the state government, take the deduction of that professional or employment tax. So while calculating your salary income, while calculating your some part of your salary, you have paid to the state government in the form of professional tax or employment tax. So whatever salary is spent by you to pay professional or employment tax, that we are going to allow under the head salary. Same manner, the house property head, if you remember, some of your house property income you would have paid to the municipality to pay the municipal tax. So whatever income of the house property head which was spent to pay municipal tax to the municipality, that municipal tax will be allowed as a deduction out of your house property income. In that same way, some income out of your salary, some salary income would be paid to the state government to pay what? Professional tax. So whatever income you have paid to the state government in the form of professional tax or employment tax, take the deduction of that. We are not going to charge tax on that income which is spent by you to pay professional or employment tax. Understood or no? But it is allowed only on payment basis. Civil tax allowed only on, professional tax is also allowed on. Logic remains same, if you remember. What logic? If it is allowed on due basis, will you bother to pay state? Will you bother to pay the professional tax or employment tax to the state government? No. We are not going to allow on what basis? Due basis. We'll allow only on due. So whatever professional tax which is paid in this year will be allowed in this year. Professional tax paid in this year allowed in this year. Last 2 years professional tax was not paid. It was not allowed. Paid in this year. Be allowed in. Will you see to which year the professional tax relates? No need to see. Professional tax for any previous year paid in my previous year will be allowed in my previous. On what basis? Payment basis. On what basis? So did you understand the tax on the profession or employment which is charged by the state government as per their respective state professional tax act? That is a separate tax charged by the state government as per different law on profession or employment. Now from that profession or employment, whatever income you are going to earn, on that income also the separate tax is charged as per a different law, Income Tax Act, and that tax is charged by the state government, central government. Understanding? Hello? Two different charge under two different law, and two different governments are taking these taxes. Please don't mix these two things. Getting my point? Now, how much income tax you are supposed to pay? Income tax is charged on total income. So first you'll learn how to calculate total income. Then you'll learn how to calculate the income tax. Yes or no? Now ask me, how much professional tax charged by the state? How much professional tax charged by state government? And on what amount it is charged? None of your business. Why? Each state government will charge different professional tax as per their own Professional Tax Act. These amounts are usually the amount of professional tax usually in every state government. No, you'll see, for example, if I'm talking about Maharashtra, I'm talking about, okay, so there is a Professional Tax Act, Maharashtra E Act, Maharashtra Professional Tax Act. So as per this law, any profession or employment you are doing in Maharashtra state, any profession or employment you are doing in Maharashtra state, from that profession you are earning this much income, then pay this much professional tax. From that professional or employment, if you are earning this much income, pay this much professional tax. So they have given a range of income. In my state, if you are doing any profession or employment, and from that profession or employment, if you are earning this much, then pay this much amount as professional tax. If you are earning 10,000 to 15,000, if you are earning 10,000 to 15,000, pay 100 rupees professional tax per month. If you are earning 15,000 to 25,000, pay 125 rupees per month. If you are earning, for example, if you are earning 25,000 to 35,000, pay 150 rupees per month or 175 rupees per month. Some per month amount is given. So per month amount will be paid by you as professional tax to the Maharashtra state government. Because in Maharashtra, from this profession or employment, you are earning this much income. This is a tax which the Maharashtra government is not charging on income. They are saying that we are charging tax on profession or employment, but the amount of tax which we are going to charge, we will directly tell you the amount only. Amount you are not supposed to calculate. The amount of tax they will only tell you. Pay us 125 rupees per month. Pay us 150 rupees per month. Pay us 175, 200 rupees per month, 250 rupees per month. Yes or no? That per month amount tax they will tell you. But you have to pay per month this much tax if your income from the profession or employment in my state is this much to income range is given. This is not the tax on that income. If you are earning income in this range, pay this much professional tax. If you are earning income in this range, pay this much professional tax. Yes or no? This is not a tax which is charged on your income. You are not authorized to charge tax on income. To charge tax on your income, authority is given to the central government by the Income Tax Act. So Income Tax Act will charge tax on this income. But if you are earning this income in my state, from this income, pay this much amount per month as what? Professional tax. Understanding? In different states, these amounts are different. Slabs of income are different. How many states are there? 29. Each state, separate professional tax act, separate range of income is given, separate professional tax amount is given. You want to learn 29 professional tax act, this amount will always be given in the, and by the way, see, this amount is just like peanuts. Sometimes they will take 100 rupees per month, sometimes they will take 125 rupees per month. Yes or no? Sometimes it will be, for example, it will be 175, 200 at the most for the full year. No, 2,500 is the maximum cap. State government from you usually recover professional tax maximum. How much per year? 1,500, not more than that. Any state act you pick up, as per that act, you can see maximum they can recover how much? 1,500. But every state has a different slabs of income based on which they charge different amount of professional tax in their state. Getting my point? Understood? It is allowed only on payment basis. from your salary income. Done, sir? Now, 3 stories I will tell you. See, this is employer. This the first story is very easy. Huh? Employer is giving you salary. Salary of rupees 10 lakhs. How much salary is giving you? 10 lakhs. So you are an employee. Okay. You are an employee. How much salary you are getting in your hands? 10 lakhs. Out of this salary, you paid your professional tax to state government. Let's say amounting to 2000. Amounting to, okay, how much was your salary? Did you get 10 lakhs? Out of your 10 lakhs, you have to pay professional tax. You paid this professional tax. So this is a very simple story, very simple example. In this, your employer gives you how much salary? So under the head income from salary, how much salary you will show taxable? 10 lakhs. And out of that salary, have you paid professional tax? How much? Take that 2000 as a reduction. So under section 16 clause 3, you will get 2000 rupees of reduction. So what will be the taxable income under the salary head? 9 lakh 98,000. This will be your net salary taxable under the head salary. Yes or no? And see now, from your salary, if you pay 2000, how much will remain? 9 lakh 98 only will remain in your pocket, no? Out of the salary, whatever professional tax you have paid to the state government, after paying that, if 9 lakh 98 remains in your pocket, so under the head salary also, 9 lakh 98 final amount should be taxable. So first show 10 lakh rupees as your income. Out of that, if you have paid 2000, take the deduction for 2000 under the head salary, how much will be taxable? The same amount which is remaining in your pocket after paying that professional tax. How much was remaining? 9 lakh 98. So how much will be taxable under the head? Remember, whatever remains in your pocket after paying professional tax, only that amount can be charged under the head salary. So this is the first story. Did you understand? Hello? Let's make second story. This is your employer. This is your employer is giving you salary. How much salary he was supposed to give you? 10 lakh salary he was supposed to give you. Now, if you would have received this 10 lakh, out of this 10 lakh, you would have paid 2000 professional tax. So what was your professional tax? What was your professional tax? Which you would have paid out of your salary? Which you would have paid out of your salary only. This professional tax was deducted by the employer. This professional tax was deducted by the, how much? 9 lakh 98. How much? This amount will now be given to the employee. So in the hands of employee, how much professional, how much salary will remain in my pocket? Now, how much will remain? Will I again go and pay the professional tax to the state government? You have already got professional tax. See, it was deducted from my salary, and now this professional tax is with the employer. Employer will bring 2000 with himself, and now that will be paid to the state government. Yes or no? From where he is giving? From his pocket or from your salary only? After deducting from your salary, that 2000 to the government is ultimately coming out of your income only, no? Did you understand this entire story? Now tell me, if you will make the salary statement, if you will make the under the head salary, what income from salary you are going to show? Net or gross? 998 you received, that was net. I have told you, the net amount which you receive after deductions is not taxable. Gross amount is taxable. So how much was your gross salary? So show 10 lakh rupees. Out of this 10 lakh, the employer deducted 2,000. Yes or no? And given to the state government. So take the deduction. Because in that 10 lakh, you have already shown this 2000 as your income, which got deducted and paid. So your income only is going to the state government. If you get 10 lakh rupees and out of that 2000 if you pay, then you get the deduction. But from your 10 lakh only, 2000 was deducted and paid to the state government. Ultimately, it is going out of your 10 lakh only, no? So if entire 10 lakh, if you are showing taxable, in that 10 lakh, 2000 is also included, which was paid to the state government. What you will do? Take the deduction. After taking the deduction, how much net taxable salary remains? So 9 lakh 98,000 will be the final amount which will be taxable under the head. This is the same amount which remains in your hands, comes in your hands. See. So story and tax treatment. What is the story? After deducting 2,998 coming in your hands. So how much final amount should be taxable under salary head? 998, which is there in your pocket. So first charge 10 lakh. And out of that 10 lakh, if 2000 was deducted and given to the state government, take the deduction of that 1000. First you will show gross income. Then in that gross income, you have already shown the 2000 rupees which was deducted and given to the state government. Take the deduction for that 2000. Understanding? Understanding? Such story is very interesting. Who is this? How much salary is supposed to give you? 10 lakhs. Now, you are an employee. Okay, no? How much salary you are getting from the government? Sorry, from the employer. 10 lakh you, entire amount you received. Now see, from this salary only, you were supposed to pay your professional tax. How much? 2000. Employer say, don't pay. Employer says, don't pay. Oh, so you will deduct this professional tax from my salary. No, I have not deducted. See, I have given you full salary. But employer, my professional tax, you have not deducted from my salary, and you are not telling me, you're telling me not to pay. I have to pay that professional tax. Employer says, don't worry. I will pay this professional tax on my own from my pocket to the state government. Possible, not possible. 10 lakh your salary, no? Take full. Take full. From that salary, don't pay. And see, I have not deducted from your salary. I'm paying that from my own pocket. Possible, not possible. If something like this, something like this comes in the exam. Now, under the head income from salary. Under the head income from how much salary you will tax? 10 lakh. And plus 2000 is the additional benefit given by the employer. Is not giving you a benefit of 10 lakh only this year. That 2000 which was your liability is paid by the employer. It is an additional benefit given by the employer, no? Then that 2000 will be treated as your salary. Or something which you receive in cash or something which you receive in kind, in the form of benefit, is your income, is your salary. Yes or no? So how much salary you will charge? Under the head salary, your taxable income, taxable salary will be 10 lakhs. Hello? This is your monetary salary. Plus 2000. This is your non-monetary salary. The benefit coming from the employer will also be treated as your salary. This is the benefit in kind. This is your perquisite. This is your, how much total? 10 lakh 2000 will be treated as your salary. Now in this 10 lakh 2000, 2000 is your income which is already paid to the state government in the form of professional tax. Take the deduction under 16 clause 3. How much? How much net taxable salary? 10 lakh. Can you see under the head income from salary, net taxable salary after claiming professional tax deduction is the same amount which is there in your pocket. You have to remember all this. So why these three stories I have told you? If in the question they are saying if professional tax is paid by whom? Employee, or deducted from employee's salary. Possible or not? What will you do? Full gross salary you are going to charge, no? Hello? Whether after deduction the salary is coming or without deducting this amount the salary is coming, full gross amount you are charging, no? In that gross amount, this 2000 is already considered. So if you have already charged the salary, out of that salary, now if you pay or it was deducted and given to the state government, you are just supposed to take deduction under section 16 clause 3. Only one effect. If it is paid by you or it was deducted from your, only one effect. Go and take the deduction under in clause 3. Why? Because you will always show the gross salary as taxable, and in that gross salary this amount is already considered. Yes or no? Hello? What if they are saying if professional tax of employee is paid by employer on his behalf, on behalf of the employee, what are you going to do? Two effects. Whatever professional tax which was your liability is paid by employer. Isn't it a benefit for you given by the employer? So any benefit given by the employer is also your salary, which will be taxable. So first make this taxable as income from salary, and then the amount which you have shown taxable as your salary, is that amount already paid to the state government? Yes. So take the deduction. So you have to give two effects. First, you will show this amount as your income, as your taxable salary income. And now since this amount which you have shown taxable as your salary, since this amount is already paid to the state government, this much income should not be taxable. First make this amount as your income, and this much income should not be, should be allowed as a deduction, because this income is already paid to the state government. So first make it as an income, and since this income was already paid to the state government in the form of professional tax, take the deduction. If you don't give these two effects, then also your answer will remain same. See, instead of taxing this 2000 and taking the deduction, if you don't give these two effects, then what salary would have been taxable? 10 lakhs. And what would have been the net amount? 10 lakhs. If these two effects, even if you forget, the taxable salary will remain. So if we have to give the deduction, then why are we adding? But you have to show two effects. You will have to show the government that this year how much benefit in total you are getting from your employer. And if you are not showing the government that the employer is paying 2000 for you, that means you are hiding an income from the government. You are not giving one effect. That is not allowed. First show us what your employer is giving you. If he is paying something for you, that is your benefit, show that as your income first. And see, no, we are giving you that deduction, but for you has to be shown first. Show us that amount as your income. And that income, if it is spent to pay the professional tax, then we are giving you the deduction, no? But if you'll hide these details, that is not allowed. Think what difference will it make? Even if I am not showing, the taxable amount is same. But bloody, you are hiding the details. That is the problem. You cannot hide any details. If the employer has paid 2000 on your behalf, First, show that amount as your benefit, show that amount as your income, and then take the deduction of that so that even we come to know that what exactly is going on. Understanding? Hello? So what if professional tax is paid by you or it is deducted from your salary? Take the deduction. That's it. Because the entire amount of salary, gross amount of salary is taxed. From that gross salary, this amount is going. So this amount should be taken as a deduction. What if your employer is paying on your behalf? Can your employer pay the professional tax on your behalf? Two effects. First, it is your perquisite, taxable under the head salary. And later on, take the deduction under section 16 clause 3. This deduction under 16 clause 3 will be available to all employees, whether government or a non-government employee, but only if they shift out. Only if they don't shift out, then they remain in default tax regime, then whether a government employee or a non-government employee will not get any deduction under section 16 clause. Yes or no? Pay attention. This is your standard deduction. How much? 50,000, 75,000. 75 if you follow 115 BSc. If you don't follow 115 BSc, standard deduction will be allowed if the gross taxable salary, standard deduction 50 or 75 will be allowed if the gross taxable salary is more than 50 or 75. But what if your gross taxable salary is below these amounts? Then the amount of your gross taxable salary will be your standard deduction. The standard deduction in that case cannot be 50, cannot be 75. So take your gross taxable salary, take 50,000 or 75,000 as the case may be, whichever is lower. Take that amount as a standard deduction. Yes or no? Professional tax, employment tax will be allowed only if you shift out. Will not be allowed if you don't shift out. It is a tax charged by the state government on the profession or employment, allowed as a deduction under 16 clause 3 only on, in other words, professional or employment tax actually paid during the current previous year shall be allowed as a deduction under 16.3 in the current previous year itself, whether it relates to current previous year or any other previous year. So professional or employment tax is paid by the employee or deducted from employee's salary. Give one effect. 16 clause 3. It is paid by the employer on behalf of the employee. Give two effects. Taxable as perquisite and then take the deduction. Yes or no? Now this is the summary table. Please check for all the deductions, and all the deductions we have completed. Okay. (115 BSc followed? Not followed? Not followed, no. If you're a government employee, you can claim all the three deductions. If you're a non-government employee, you can claim only two deductions except entertainment allowance. And if you are following 115 BSc, then you can take only standard deduction. Both these deductions are not allowed. Done, sir? Now we'll do retirement benefits. But before doing retirement benefits, we'll solve few questions. But before solving few questions, we'll take a small break. Oh, break, sir. So take a break. Small break of 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, we'll meet and we'll start. Don't take 45 minutes. We'll meet at 3. Okay? Have proper lunch, huh? So that you enjoy sleeping. Okay? After coming, you have to sleep also, no? So take proper break, okay? And eat properly.